everybody. I'd like to welcome you all to our INCON Learning session today, which is going to be led by Bar Gelfand from our partner company, ORTRA. And he's going to be talking all about AI and events, how to enhance the event experience, leveraging data so that we can become more productive, and also touching on the human dimension to all of this. So I will hand over to Bar. He has a really great presentation, and we will take Q&A during the session. If you have anything in particular, you can put it in chat, and I can field that query to Bar. Otherwise, we have time at the end to cover off any questions. We are recording today's session, so for those of you who have colleagues who might be interested in this, we will have it on the INCON Learning page next week, so you can share it with everybody. So over to you, Bar.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. As mentioned before by Angela, I'm from ORTRA. We're the leading PCO in Israel and, of course, an INCON member. And I'm here to talk to you about AI in our industry, and basically what it can do, what it can do, and how do we make it work. So I'll start with describing a bit my journey, because I believe that the path that I've been through provides me with some sort of a unique perspective when it comes to implementing AI and technology in general. So I started in my career in Monitor Deloitte, the strategy practice of a big four company, heavy corporate. We did very different consulting projects for mainly high-tech companies. That was my industry that I was professionalizing in. And from that, I moved on to one of the company's clients, which is Trigo. Trigo is an Israeli big startup, I would say. It's one of the leaders of what we call computer vision AI in retail, basically something similar to an Amazon Go store, if you remember these, identifying people's journeys based on their appearance using cameras in the store and providing them with a frictionless shopping experience where they can basically pick up a product, leave the store, and can be billed for that afterwards, and also for different solutions, leveraging computer vision in order to prevent thefts. There I was the head of product marketing, and the Gen AI thing started to really accelerate. And from there, I moved into ORTRA. ORTRA, a very traditional company, an industry leader in Israel. And this is where I came from. Now, I'm describing right now the first day of work for me. So I was used to going and unleashing different products and features on a daily basis. And it felt a bit like time travel, moving from a company which the core was the technology to a company which is an industry leader, a veteran, and a company that the core of the offering is not the technology, it's the service, it's the people, it's the operation. And I had to go through a very weird phase where I'm used to, technologies that are like fully implemented, because when you just start the company, you're always with the most technological things you can do because you use the newest products. And I moved on from that into a company where still has some Excels and email chains and all of that. And I was a bit shocked on one hand, but at the same time, I saw a very big opportunity, because with that opportunity, with that technology gap, there's a big opportunity gap for decades and decades of wisdom and industry context that is not written really anywhere. It's in the minds of the people. It's professionalism that cannot be taught by just watching Monday boards or documentations. It's full-on professionalism and not just a product. And that's what made this transition very thrilling for me. Now, let's talk a bit about what we'll do today and what you'll take from this presentation. So we'll talk a bit about what AI can do, and most importantly, what it can't really do well, at least yet. We'll talk about the emotional challenge of implementing AI in an industry like ours, which is a people industry, not a tech industry. We'll talk about the how. I'll suggest some frameworks, some ideas that I took from both the consulting world and the tech world, and kind of translated them into our world in order to implement it. And at the end of the presentation, you will receive a small gift from me, which is an AI toolkit that I made for you to check it out. You'll see some tools that I either implemented or just check them out or just play with it. But you'll see a very nice mapping of tools that are relevant for the industry. And of course, we will use real examples, not anything imaginary. Now, a small disclaimer from my end. I'm not a tech guy. I've been in the tech industry. I'm not a software engineer. I never written a single line of code in my life. And all I'm showing you is from a perspective of a consumer. And I think that you will be able to relate because you will be experiencing at some sort of level the same ideas. So let's talk a bit what AI can really do today. So I'll give you some examples that are in a nutshell, and we will take them from the moment that an event or a conference or a congress is born to the day that it ends. So let's start small. Let's start with the area of lead generation and looking for sales. So this is an example of a very simple tool, simple agent that we implemented, which is the AI intelligent agent. And the idea here is that it goes every Monday morning at 10 a.m., scans the web for interesting news that could potentially become leads for us. Now, that means that it will look at news, media, and try to see these interesting chains of events that could potentially put me before my competition. For example, a scientist that won a very interesting prize, and I can approach this person and ask them, maybe they want to promote their winning and maybe they want to do a nice event. And the idea here is that AI enables me a very fast response and not just hearing and looking it up manually and hearing it based on hearsay. Another example, and of course, I will also mention that it will direct it to the right salesperson depending on the context. So, for example, if it's like the most senior person, maybe we will direct it to our CEO that the CEO can approach that person immediately. If it's maybe not as senior, it will go to the sales team. Maybe if it's something related to AI, it will go to me because I'm more into the techie areas. So that is the processing behind it. Now I'll give you another example. This is relatively new. This is something that I added we started playing with it about a week ago. And I'll start by pitching the problem that we have. So when people are approaching us at events, each event has their own mailbox that they can contact. Now, the problem is that we get, instead of only like the regular forms that can be easily directed to the right person, people are sending a lot of questions and they're writing a lot of emails. And the problem is that you can get 100, 200 emails at the same time, but everyone needs to go to it manually. Either a person or everyone would have to look on the same mailbox. What we did here is that we decided that AI can help us with the context. Why? Because it will not only use keywords, it can be a bit smarter than that. Now, what you see here is a dashboard, okay? And if I'll stop the video in about 1 sec, you will see that we created different mailboxes with different definitions within it. So IMTM is one of our big events. It's a tourism event. And for that particular event, what we created is AI-based roles. So we actually describe the different people who are currently handling this event, the team. And each one of them, we gave a description of the relevant queries that they can receive. I'll give you just an example. What you'll see here is project and technical management. This is Limor, our tech manager, and every query that is related to technology should get to her, okay? Everything that is technical, plugins and operation and logistics and all of that. Another example is specific to a hackathon that we are doing in this event, which I am responsible for. Now, what you'll see here is an example that I try to do some sort of a trick question for the AI to show you how important it is to see that AI is not only about keywords, it's about context. So what I wrote here on the subject is a technical question. A technical question would probably need to go to Limor, right? But if you look at the message itself, at the body of the message, you'll see that they want to participate in the upcoming hackathon. That means that it needs to come to me. And just like a short magic, of course, I saved you the waiting time. It came to me, and I can also press reply and directly reply to that same person. It won't only reply to the mailbox that I got it from. So that's one example of how to use AI in a very smart, maybe sophisticated, but not very hard to implement. It took about a 2 weeks to 3 weeks process, but it's very basic. It's a unique problem that we had and we solved it. Another example is here. I don't know if you are aware of a platform called Gamma, but basically what we did here is that we tried to create some sort of a proposal generator. Sometimes you get these emails or queries that are basically vague. Someone tells you, "Hey, I want to organize a conference for 500 people in the area of renewable energy in March." That's nice, but you need to create a structure out of it. So the idea here is to create a proposal generator that is just a repeating prompt that has been given the data from previous previous proposals that we made, and help us provide a structure. From that, we put it into an engine that creates presentation. It's called Gamma, in order to automatically generate a basic presentation based on the structure that we mentioned before. Now, I'll talk about how efficient it is eventually a bit later. We'll get to that, and I will tell you whether it really worked or not. Now let's move on to the marketing side. So these are two examples of videos that probably would have cost me tens of thousands of dollars to create. But now using AI, I can make really cool videos, really cool marketing materials without a very big struggle. So you'll see on the left, IMTM, I mentioned that this is a tourism event. On the right, you have a surgeons event that just ended last week. And this gives you something that you can use today. It's off-the-shelf tools. You don't need to implement anything. These are things that you can use tomorrow morning. You need to play with it a bit. But it's very easy to save, to do things that you either wouldn't do because they're too expensive or would have cost you a lot of money. Now let's move on to the event itself. Some of these things probably will be familiar to you. On the top left, you see a heat map that is using computer vision in order to analyze in real time the locations of the people and the density in order to allocate resources and allocate the different, to manage the crowd. So for example, if I see that there's one food hall that is too full, maybe I can start directing people to the other one. Another example that you see on the bottom left is, maybe you heard of a tool called Snapsite. There are many tools like it, which basically does a meeting summary, but this time not like Zoom or Teams or other tools that you use. This is a tool that creates it specifically for events by doing it more, say, privacy compliant, not mentioning names, and etc. And basically, when you finish going to a lecture, maybe you came across it, You scan a QR code and you get the lecture summary at the end. That's a very nice offering for your participants. Now, on the right side, what you see is an event app with an AI assistant that can help different tasks, help do different tasks. For example, the left one, you see an SLA issue when someone loses their tag, and they can direct them directly to the information stand without having to go through a person. It can actually wait for them right there. And also, maybe some of you already use it, some recommendations based on your favorite lectures that you already marked. At the end of the event, again, we can use the same computer vision tools in order to make some analysis. For example, if I saw that there's a hall that was too occupied, maybe next year it needs a bigger hall. Maybe I did the opposite, and there was a lecture that no one came to, and it took too much of my space. On the left side of the screen, you can also see a next step based on the meeting summaries and the lecture summaries that can actually create an initial version. I wouldn't say it's a complete magazine that you wouldn't read, but basically summarizing all the lectures that happened in the event itself, and putting it into one document that you can either afterwards edit, and you can provide it to your client as a very interesting offering, because we do these events for a reason. We don't do it just for people to gather. We do it to really pass on information. Now, everything that I showed you seemed, I'd say, very optimistic. But still, if you ask me, AI is no more, no less than the world's greatest intern. Why? It's super fast. It's as smart as it gets, but it's still an intern. It makes mistakes. You need to put the right guidance. You need to guide it through every steps, otherwise it will get it all wrong. And it lacks the one thing that you have, which it can never have, which is experience. Now, let's talk a bit about why that happens. So what you see here, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. This is what we call the Gartner hype cycle. Basically, this is the flow that every new product in the market or new technology goes through. So it starts with a very big hype, okay? On the Y bar, you can see the expectation. On the X bar, you can see the time lasting. And every product starts with a very big hype. Then we come to reality. We're understanding that technology maybe is not as good as we expected. And then we start to understand slowly how to really make the most of it, how to use it correctly. And then it starts to become widely spread and in scale. And the same goes with Gen AI, also in our industry. So 2022, ChatGPT came to the world, and everyone was really afraid that it will take all our jobs. We can all stop working and go and have a nice vacation, because ChatGPT will do everything and AI will do everything. Up to that, a year later, this is that peak of expectations. Everyone is doing AI. Even if it's not AI, they are calling it AI. You have AI in commercials for an internet provider because they added something that maybe use a simple prompt that doesn't mean anything. But everyone is doing AI. Why? Because everyone is doing it. And that's it. No one really knows what is behind that. And no one really knows what they're doing. Now we are in a phase where we are starting to see that it is not as easy as we thought. It's not that simple to use AI, and it can't solve all of our problems, not tomorrow and not the day after, and maybe not in a year. It's much deeper than that. I even remember that working in Deloitte, one of the predictions was that in 2026, all the autonomous vehicles will be all over the market, and that didn't happen. And now let's talk a bit about why. So here are the numbers for you. These are numbers from McKinsey. This is numbers from Gartner. Those are not my numbers. But basically, the main point here is that 85 of the AI projects actually fail to deliver values, to deliver value, and 40% don't even make it past the pilot stage. Why? Now let's talk about why it happens. It can either mean that AI is not as good as we thought, or we're doing something wrong, and I believe that the answer is somewhere in the middle, and it's kind of a mixture between the two. So let's talk. AI is really amazing, but product market fit, let's talk about that. Product market fit means that the product is actually fitting the people who are operating it, the consumers who are working with it. And it's not always there. Now I want to go back to the example of the presentation generator that I showed you. We all waste a lot of time on doing these presentations, and it's really time and effort consuming. But on the other hand, these platforms that are really good to create templates still are not good enough to do the thinking process that you go through in every proposal that you generate. And even if it works well, and even if you gave it the right prompting and all of that, you give it all the right information, when it comes to getting into the right branding, when it comes to making presentations that look like the presentation that you usually do, it's not there yet. So if I give you also another example, I went to do the same, a similar lecture in Korea, and I came across a platform that provides a full-on lip sync of myself speaking Korean. It sounds like me, but it's me speaking Korean, which I can't. And it looks really amazing. But the question is, okay, and what's next? How does that contribute to my practice? Now let's move on to the next problem, which is consistency. AI is a probability-based model. That means that if you ask some ChatGPT something today, or even if you ask ChatGPT something, it will give you an answer today, but even an hour later, it might not even give you a similar response. That's an issue with AI in general. And you can see a true example from one of the marketing assets that we wanted to create for a medical conference that we made. I simply, after creating this picture of the guy with the megaphone, I politely asked ChatGPT to just add a register now word bubble, and it changed the entire appearance. And if any of you try to create different assets with ChatGPT or any other engines, you see that sometimes it just becomes all different from what you've done today. So consistency is a very big issue currently with Gen AI. But I think the biggest struggle that we come across today is that when we get to the phase where we need to integrate and commercialize the different aspects of AI, and we want to make it not just a mock-up, but a real app that works and integrates with all the system and the backends that we have, we come across big problems. It's not that simple. And I can now use different apps, I don't know if you heard of Lovable or Base44, to create the most amazing event app. It can take me 2 hours. But what next? How will it integrate with my event management platform? How will it integrate with my registration forms? Will it be consistent enough? Will I experience, and will the consumer experience bugs and problems? And the answer is probably they will. So this is one of the reasons that AI is not as easy to implement as we thought. Now, let's move on and talk a bit about how to make it work. I developed some sort of I'd call it a framework to really show you how I believe you can get to AI implementation slowly but surely. Before that, I want to take an example from a different market. Let's talk about the automotive market. What you see here on the left on the left side of the screen is something that we came across in the vehicles industry when we started seeing many vehicles that have only a touch screen. It looks amazing, it's really cool, it looks futuristic, but there is one big problem. When you're driving 100 miles per hour and you want to change something in the temperature of the heat of the air condition, you need a physical button. It doesn't work the other way. It's annoying. And all these vehicles started doing it with all the screens and it looks amazing. But companies and OEMs like Mercedes, like Hyundai, like Kia, they all came back to doing also a physical button when it is needed. What that means to our industry is that sometimes you need to think not only about how cool and how futuristic something is, you need a hybrid approach that takes the good of both worlds. You need to figure out what is the right solution for each problem, and you need to leverage things like experience and convenience in order to move forward in a way that doesn't hurt the practice that people are either used to or that is working very well today. And we will do the same when we implement AI and technology in general in our practice, because we have things that work well. There's no need to do changes just for the sake of changing and just for the sake of saying that we did something innovative or new. Now, let's put on the framework and talk a bit about it. So, the first thing that you need to do is start with the pain. You're not doing innovation for the sake of innovation. The idea is to find something, a problem, just like the one I showed you with the email allocation. We had a real problem that we needed to solve. We find a very small solution. We piloted it and we put it and we let it go. That's it. You need to start with a real pain and not just look for something that looks amazing. Another thing is that you need the small wins first. You need to prove value before going big, especially in an industry where you have a lot of veterans, a lot of people with a long time experience, but some sort of reluctant to use AI and new tools. And the last thing is to bridge the gap, basically to bridge the gap between the experience and the technology. And I want to elaborate on that. There are two main types, I'd say, of employees and people in our companies today. And I'll try to do the separation as clear as I can. So on one hand, we have the experienced professionals. These are people who are working for a very long time in the industry. They know exactly what to do. They've been doing events for such a long time. But on the other hand, they struggle with AI tools, and they also have the fear of being replaced. And I came across that from the day I joined the company. People kept saying like small jokes about, yeah, I don't need that. You won't need me. This tool will replace me. I'd rather do things my way, etc. On the other hand, you have the young professionals who are better in AI tools. But on the other hand, they are missing something very important, which is industry context. They don't know what to ask for. They don't know how to ask the right questions. And that's how you need to approach it. You need to get these people and pair them up together. And you need to find ambassadors from both groups to help you take your company and your practice forward. Now, I'm sharing with you right now is I'd say the guts of ORTRA. Okay? This is my case study. Your case study might be different, but this is the structure of our company right now. And these are the different characteristics of people that we currently have in our organization. And let me elaborate on that. So I divided it to four main groups based on the different needs and different characteristics of the people in it. First one is the marketing, which I like to refer as my innovation lab. Why is it my innovation lab? Because these are people that are mainly young. They are very proficient with AI. And most importantly, this is a department that is under my control, which means that it's very easy for me to get the wins there and to test every tool that I can dream of. So all the tests that I do, I start with marketing. This is where I do them. Also, because it's marketing, which is not marketing in events, is not different from marketing in, is not that different from marketing in any other industry. I have a lot of off-the-shelf tools that I can use and don't require heavy lifting in the company and don't require high efforts of deployment. Now let's move on to another group, which is the early adopters. In our case, it's the sales team. So we have a lot of people in the sales team that really want to use AI, but not all of them are very proficient with it. But they have the willingness. On another note, they have the off-the-shelf tools that are available for marketing. Same idea with the sales, because I can give them tools that don't need heavy lifting and heavy implementations. And if I go to another group, is what we call the strategic front. And that's where I have the biggest challenge. This is my project managers, the registration, the exhibitions and sponsorships, the program managers, and all of that. This is the core of the company. These are people that, from what I saw, at least in my in our company, that have higher resistance for AI tools and new innovations that come in. The deployment here is not something that you can plug and play. It's not something that you copy from one organization and put it on the other hand. It's specific issues and specific problems that are relevant for these departments. And this is where I will act a bit differently. So if in marketing, I will just start deploying everything and play with everything that I could possibly think of. And in sales, I'll do the same idea, but a bit slower. Here, I'm thinking strategic. Here, I'm giving them, if I even see someone asking for AI, and even if it's not the biggest priority for the company, I'd still prioritize it because I need a win with them. And that's why I did the implementation of the email tools that I presented to you. This is where I need to get the wins. This is where I need ambassadors. This is where I need the leaders and the most experienced and senior project managers to be on my side. And when they get the value and when I help them solving problems that have been there for a very long time, that's a big win for me, and I can move on to the next step and do very big, significant changes within the company. Another group that I have is what I call peripheral. It's, on our case, it's finance and administration. For them, I do mainly depending on if they ask for something and I can prioritize, I do that, but that's not where I put most of my effort. Now, I want to share with you, I shared with you some successful things that we've done. Now I want to share with you something that failed. In my, I think, maybe first 2 weeks of my job, I saw an opportunity in terms of marketing to create AI-based marketing, social media marketing plans, basically using one of the famous website platforms. It offered me a platform where I can, from the beginning of the conference, based on the content in the website, I could create an entire 4-month plan with all the social media posts moving forward, all created by AI. Sounds like a dream, right? It even gave me some control. I was actually supposed to approve each one of these posts in advance in order to move forward. The problem was that, first, planning all of that in advance was irrelevant. Second, the content that I got from the AI was garbage. And all of that effort showed me that, yes, I added some long layers of human intervention, but it was not enough. Now, in every process that we do when we implement AI, almost every process, there are things that are more simple. We need the human intervention because, as I said, sometimes consistency is broken. Sometimes it makes mistake. So you need to ensure that when you implement AI tools, you keep humans involved as much as needed. This is one lesson that I learned right at my beginning. And now I do it step by step, and this platform, I'm not using it anymore. Um, this is one quote that I heard, I think maybe on my first couple of weeks in the job. And it pretty much sums up everything I talked about. One of our senior project managers came to me and she said, if you could plug a USB into my brain, you'd have the whole event. And I think that sums up pretty much everything we've talked about, because we have experts here that no matter how much effort you put into documentation, there are things that they know that won't be there. Um, AI will not be able to know that the expo in Tel Aviv, that even though they say that it contains 1,000 people, actually you only can fit 900 people because otherwise it's too crowded. There are things in your experience that you can't just bypass. And you need to use AI not in order to replace all the data and all the things that are currently in your professionals' heads and minds. You need to use AI in order to boost it. You need to use AI to amplify your processes. You need to use AI in order to make things faster and more efficient, and not replace things that are working well. Some keys to victory before we wrap it up. First, start small. Prove your value. Get the wins. Get the wins. That's the most important thing. After you get the wins, people will come to you and they will ask you to do more and more implementations. Secondly, recruit ambassadors. You can find people who are not necessarily very proficient in AI, but have very strong impact on their colleagues. I recruited a few of those in order to really make things work, and I put the effort in that because these are people with influence, and you know who these people are within your organization. Another thing is to pair experience with technology. We talked about it. And again, focus on the main pain points, not the hype. The bottom line, not innovation for the sake of innovation to solve problems and issues. Now, before we wrap it up, this is something I told you a bit about it before. You will have access to it after this lecture is done. And basically, I created using a tool called Base44, which is a no-coding app generation platform. And I put here all the tools that I either played with or heard of or researched about. These are tools that I know. I'd be happy for you to use them and start implementing them within your work. And also, like, you'll have my details. And if you see something that you say it's not as good, or you heard about something that is very powerful that is not there, I'd be happy to hear about it. Everything we do here, I guess, in INCON Learning is about sharing information, sharing knowledge, and making the right best practices for our industry. So feel free to use that. And in order to use it, you can scan the QR code that is here on the screen. Feel free to use that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Can you still see my screen? Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Bar. Everybody can get those access to those now.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Bar. That was a super presentation. So much useful information for all of us on some of the tools that you've been using there in ORTRA. Does anybody have any specific questions for Bar? You can simply speak, take off your microphone, or you can put a question in chat. Don't be shy. Bar, I have a question just regarding confidentiality. So what do you put in place just to make sure that your team there, they're not using maybe platforms that aren't safe or well protected?
So At least on our end, I'd say it's better to give someone a paid membership other than letting them play with it on their own discretion. So one of the issues with AI usually is that all the free tools are the worst, right? When you use a tool and you're using it for free, you all know this, probably know this saying, you're not, when it's free, you are the product. And the idea here is that when you use tools that are not paid subscriptions, they have no obligation to not use your information to train their systems for machine learning purposes. So in that term, of course, you have IT professionals that can block all these systems. But I think for my end, the biggest problem is someone starting to put on the information just like that without any supervision. So I'd rather pay for someone's membership, or if I heard of it, of course I can block it with using my IT. But I think providing this is usually the solution.
Thanks, Bar. And what about additional education on AI? Where would you recommend?
So I can share with you after the meeting some like I think the best learning you can get from either following the right people on LinkedIn and in social. This is where I work, what I do usually, and playing with the tools. You need to play with them. You need to learn the things with each tools. You need to basically mix it up. Like, for example, when I create one of these videos that you saw, I create the copy using Claude because it's very good with wording. I create the initial pictures that I generate. I use ChatGPT. The videos, I use a tool called Higgsfield. So you need to mix it up. And in order to learn about it, you just need to either you can use, if you use, for example, you can use even ChatGPT to teach you about these different tools that exist. It's basically the biggest search engine that currently can help you. And also really try to play with these tools as much as you can and learn the pros and learn the cons.
Mm. What about presentations, PowerPoint presentations? Is there a particular tool you'd recommend?
In terms, so for example, I don't use PowerPoint anymore. I use Canva or Pitch. These are very good tools to create presentations. Canva has nice, I'd say, AI tools in order to do some designs. And Pitch is more about creating they have very good templates and also their AI for specific use cases. For example, if you want to do a pitch for a lecture within an event, they have that. So Pitch is a very nice tool for that. And also, I showed you a tool called Gamma, which is a generator of presentations. You can either put in a prompt, just a few lines, create a presentation for me about the mice industry. I highly advise you to go and try and test it with the prompt that I just told you, even. See what information it gets for you, right? But also you can give it the entire structure, and it will give you a nice presentation. The problem is that when you do a proposal, you want it to look fine, and it looks nice. Nothing more than that. Nothing more, nothing less. Yeah.
And then new business proposals. So are you like, putting in your proposals into a particular platform and just in terms of like safety of putting in client information there, what kind of controls do you put in place?
So we either do, for that, we would either use ChatGPT where we have like the paid subscription and the enterprise subscription, which is the highest level of privacy. Or we use Copilot because, everything we do is in Microsoft anyway. So these are the tools that we will use. Again, when it comes to client sensitive information, it's very important to do education within the company, saying that you don't use client names and all of that unless it's a tool that is like something that you can 100% trust. Like again, the big ones, ChatGPT, Claude, and all of that. I wouldn't put pricing in a platform like Gamma.
Mm-mm. And have you looked at developing your own GPT?
So we have developed our own GPT. What do you mean? Like our own agents or
Yeah, your own
GPTs?
agents. Yeah.
So we developed a few like without coding. I think we need to do the differentiation here between like it's sometimes people call something an agent when it's not really an agent. It's just a repetitive prompt, like the one I showed you next to the Gamma, the proposal, which is not really an agent. It's just a prompt that asks the same questions or the same structure every time. But when it comes to developing something more serious, we do one of the two. We either use a platform called Make, which is a platform to create agents without coding. You'll see it in the AI toolbox, or we have an AI advisor that works with us. What I showed you about the email allocation tool, I couldn't develop that myself. We have an AI advisor that is working with us on a retainer, and he is helping us making things more efficient all the time.
Yeah, cool. Great, super. Okay, so I have monopolized a little bit of Bar's time there with all my questions.
No
Does
worries.
anybody have anything that you'd like to ask him? No, everybody's dumbstruck today. You can also put it in chat if you prefer.
Yeah. Hi, Bar. I have a question. I saw
Sure.
your how you were organizing the emails, having it
Mhm.
forward. So which tool did you use for that
We
one?
actually developed a tool for that. We actually used an AI consultant that he developed something. He did develop it within the Microsoft and ChatGPT, so it will be secure. But he developed that specifically for us. What we did is we created we created another email box called AI at ORTRA. And within that, all the AI processing is conducted. But we used an external provider. And if you want a recommendation, I'd be happy to send you the details and you can talk to him. He's a great guy.
Yeah, that will be great. And I noticed that you used Gmail, so I wanted to know if it will work with
Easier. Everything
Microsoft.
with Microsoft is more difficult.
I have one more question. I
Of course.
also, the slide that you showed where the strategic friend is the project manager management aspect where AI implementation is most hard,
Hmm.
but it is highly rewarding. Yes, of course, it is where a high resistance happens always. Do you have any suggestions on that front? How to remove the resistance, how to make things easier? Because an
Yeah.
idea bringing it to implementation is always tough.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example from what we just did. So the same person that I show you her quote, the senior project manager, because I knew she has a lot of impact in the company, I put on a target for myself to get her on board on my side. And I started very small. I created a very simple GPT in ChatGPT that helped her create um, maps for maps and people counting for different venues. For example, if we have a venue that didn't provide us a proper map and we needed to conduct the seating, I gave it a few rules based on local engineering regulation for how many people can fit and how wide the aisles can need to be, for example, for people to move on. And I created a small tool like that in order to show her, and she used it afterwards. Now, she used it one time, two times, but the thing is that I got her trust. She knew that now I can give her benefits that she wouldn't get without using these tools. And even a few days after, she asked me to. She told me that she had a problem with even like this. We can start with the smallest things. You can start with even things like merging two different Excels. Even these small wins get someone on board on your side. And after that, it's easy to get everyone else. And that's how I started, as small as I can. Just a small favor from one colleague to another. Of
Thank you.
course.
Super, Bar. Michael had a question there. He was asking if you have tried PCMA Project Spark.
I actually haven't. I'd love to hear about that.
Okay. We'll share it with you. Yeah.
Perfect.
Michael, have you tried to use it in your company?
We can't hear you, Michael. You're on mute.
Yeah, now it's working. Now it's working. We tried it, but it's very complex. It's interesting.
I'll check it out. I haven't.
I think it's combining different AI tools under one roof.
Hmm. Anybody else on the call have used it effectively? No. Okay. All right. Anything else before we close from anybody? Okay, so thanks so much, Bar, for your time. It was
Of
really
course.
very helpful for everybody, and we all look forward to playing around with those tools. I heard a good AI presentation in Ireland a couple of months back, and when the speaker finished the session, he said, "Okay, instead of playing on your Instagram or scrolling, he said, promise me for the next 30 days that you'll just use," and he, like you, he gave these list of tools. So he was, yeah, recommending us all to do that. So that's what I task everybody to do over the Christmas period.
Definitely. Can even use AI for comedy. It's really fun. That's
Oh,
even
yeah.
a good way to start.
Mm-mm-mm. Okay, so thanks a lot, and we will put the recording on the INCON website towards the end of the week or beginning of next week, so you can all share it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you
Thanks,
so much,
everyone.
Bar.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.